Hi, good evening everybody, and welcome to the Internet Citadel Show. It's so good to have you on with us tonight. We just have got a great show planned again tonight, and before we get started, I would like to introduce my co-creator, co-host here, Brian Kelly. Brian has over 23 years experience as a software engineer. He was also a co-owner of a travel-based MLM for over 6 years. Brian is an avid social media enthusiast, social media consultant. He is also the creator of Tweet Performance, which you can see down below. Phenomenal program for anybody that wants a start-to-finish how-to Twitter program. He has put together our Internet Citadel program and done all of the technical aspects. We were just talking about having somebody else working with us soon. We're excited about that as we're growing. But I would like to welcome Brian again to another Tuesday night and an exciting guest this week. How are you, Brian?
Doing fantastic, Kathy. I was going to say stop, that's enough. Thank you so much for the great introduction. We have another great show lined up for you tonight. He's actually a return guest, and we're looking very forward to speaking with him on a slightly different topic than last time we had him on. But before we get into our special guest, I'd like to introduce Kathy to everyone. She's a wonderful dear friend of mine and a partner and co-creator of this show along with myself. This show would not go on without this woman. She is phenomenal. She's fantastic. She's been an operations and sales manager with over 25 years of experience in that type of position. That was with a Fortune 500 company. She has MLM experience dating back to the mid-'80s. That's also known as network marketing. And she's also been into affiliate marketing dating back to the early 90s. And she is an incredible affiliate marketer, and I affectionately call her the affiliate marketing queen. This woman knows how to sell items online. She's just incredible about doing that. She's also very well versed in the social media marketing atmosphere, and she's coming out with some unbelievable products that even I haven't been able to see yet. She's such a tease, but we can't wait to see what those are. But with that, I'll hand it back to you, Kathy, to bring on our guest.
Great. Well, listen, I just wanted to throw this in here real quick. It was interesting how we met our guest here, and it was actually through social media, so what a perfect topic. If you'll remember, we met him through Twitter after one of our shows, so that's kind of an exciting thing. It's amazing how you can connect with people. But I want to tell you about our special guest tonight. Alan has 11 years of SEO and SEM and web development experience. He developed RealEstateCity.com, a real estate network of over 300 sites, serving every major city in Canada and the U.S. And these sites generated over $200 million of real estate leads per day. He's an accomplished writer, having published articles in the following newspapers: New York Times, Simpatico's, NetLife, Website Directory, Toronto Business Journal, and many more. He is also an accomplished author, and most recently has authored a children's book. It's absolutely beautiful. Ellen, you're going to have to tell him the title because I wrote it down and it's clickety-clackety something, and I'm going to get tongue-tied, and it doesn't take much for me. But the other thing I want to tell you about Alan is that he has, over the years, helped 800 clients achieve top rankings on all the major search engines. He is actually considered an online marketing guru, and he's been interviewed on SEO Radio, CTV's Web Media, CBC Radio, and published frequently Web Pro News, Web Master Marketing, and Site Pro News as well. His web skills also include programming in HTML, PHP, Java, JavaScript, and I was going to say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because that's like a whole mouthful for me too.
Go
Anybody
Alan.
Out there that understands that stuff will know. See,
Yeah,
Brian, you
go
know
Alan. I love it.
But anyway, he is published online on forums, blogs, e-zines. He's a fabulous guy, and we're so excited to have him. I would like to introduce our guest tonight, Alan Pollitt out of Toronto, Canada. Hi, Alan.
Hi, thanks for having me again. it's always fun coming on this show.
Absolutely great having you.
Absolutely.
So I always get overwhelmed by the intros. Actually, the name of the storybook was for my little princess. It's a children's book that I just recently came out with. It has nothing to do with anything that I normally do, but it's a good contrast because I think everyone needs a break from doing what they normally do. So. It was just a fun thing.
Like one of the titles like Ucka Mucka Lucka Chucka,
something like that? Princess Eva Ika-Lika-Laka-Luk.
That's what it is. That's her name. Right, okay. See, there's no way I would have been able to do that.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Well, listen, Alan, I know that you wanted to talk to us a little bit about social media marketing or social media optimization and the difference between that and SEO, search engine optimization.
Yeah, basically a lot of people don't really understand SEO, which is the older of the marketing methods that people use online. SEO is only driven by two factors. It stands for search engine optimization, and it's governed by what content appears on the website and by the links pointing to a website. So the more links you have, and the better that those links are, the better your ranking will be on the search engines. So the cool thing is there's now a crossover with social media because a lot of the social media sites will allow you to put content on their website and you can control links going to your website. So it's a new way to optimize and get traffic and good rankings on the search engines, is to use social media.
All right, so that's great that everybody now has a definition of search engine optimization, because that is a very confusing subject to many, and it is very deep and complex in many facets, as you well know, being an SEO expert, Alan. But now we're talking about tying in SEO and the concept with this. It's already blown sky high, this thing called social media. If anyone listening hasn't heard about this yet, I don't mean this in a mean way, but you've been living under a rock, because social media is here. It's the biggest traffic generating medium I have seen in a long time. But now we're going to talk about how does social media and SEO, how does social media play a role in SEO? Okay, well, first I actually want to just quickly say how social media has sort of taken over the ballgame. It used to be that the top 20 sites on the internet were Google, Yahoo, MSN, pretty much all dominated by search engines. eBay was in there for a little bit, Amazon, but the top sites that people were visiting were all search engine websites. But now it's 50-50 between social media and the search engine. So social media has come out of nowhere and just dominated, in terms of traffic, the top sites. So with that said, the search engines are now looking very strongly at these social media websites, and they're saying, well, if they're so popular, maybe they're actually good recommendations. And if they're good recommendations, links from them pointing to websites, those sites must be good too. So the benefit that you get from social media in SEO is enormous, because it's considered a strong recommendation to your website, and therefore your website must be of something of real relevance to what people are searching for.
Well, how critical is it to optimize social media, Alan? I mean, I know it was a very critical component, it still is in some cases with blogs and websites, but how does it correlate with social media?
Well, one of the things is, as I said way back when, the idea is links. With Twitter or Facebook or any of the social media sites, it's all about getting links to your website. So if you're tweeting about something, let's say when I created my Twitter marketing course, what I did was, instead of going the old approach for an SEO, which is to get a whole bunch of links from a whole bunch of directory websites or standard websites. What I did was I did a simple optimization of my article, and then I tweeted about it. I said, Twitter marketing course, and then I had a link going out to the course. So what happened was Google within 2 days ranked the page, the article, #1 for Twitter marketing course.
Wow.
And it was competing
against. That was due to the link backs, Alan?
That was due to just what I did was with my social media. I optimized my tweets so the keywords are around near the link, and the link is pointing to the page. Okay, and that was all the level of optimization. But what I also do is I use Ping FM to have it feed out to 100 other social media sites. So one tweet is actually equal to 100 links. So it was like a blast of a whole bunch of links pointing with this really great text to my site. And for those people who are a little more search engine savvy, that's called a Google bomb. And the most famous Google bomb is with George Bush, where when he was elected, not many people liked George Bush, and especially a lot of online people didn't like him, because what they did was they linked to the White House website with the words "miserable failure," and they did that over and over again. And if you searched on Google for "miserable failure," the #1 site was the White House site. So I'm doing the same kind of tactic, but using social media sites to basically create this Google bomb to get really good rankings for articles that I publish.
That's very interesting. So, go ahead.
I was just curious, how easy is it to implement this type of optimization in the social media realm? I mean, you mentioned Ping FM. Maybe you can explain that, or maybe that's a different answer than you were thinking of. But how do you actually optimize that?
Well, Ping FM is more of a way to get to set up the building of the links, where you can get your tweet out to many sites at once. It basically, Ping FM allows people to create a Twitter feed and have it feed out to multiple social media websites like Flickr, YouTube, whatever social media sites you are listed in their category. There's other ones as well that I use. Ping FM only is limited to 50, but there's 20 other ones that are similar that you can do, so you can get your numbers up even higher.
Wow.
Recently, I think it was December, you can correct me on this, December or end of November, LinkedIn had it so that you automatically feed out from Twitter to LinkedIn, right? Was that,
yes.
Is that right, the right
Yes.
time period?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I mean, it's becoming more and more popular that you use Twitter not just to get information out on Twitter, but to feed it out to multiple sites. And the optimization is, it's a little different than standard optimization where the anchor text is controlled. It's actually, with social media, you're controlling the text around the link instead. Okay? So, yeah, so the description is being controlled with the anchor text that you like. So when I tweet,
would that be the same with all, Alan? Would that be the same with Facebook and with LinkedIn as well?
Yeah, it works. Basically, the way you can see those like status updates on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter is basically like seeing mini blogs or mini articles that are getting indexed. I'm not sure if you've ever tried this, but you can actually click on an individual tweet and it'll actually have its own separate page on Twitter. And Google sees it as a separate page, each individual tweet, even though they're very short, they're only 140 characters. LinkedIn and Facebook, it's the same way. They're seen as separate pages, each status update. So those are strong links. If you look at most people's profiles on Twitter or LinkedIn, their PR, like their page rank or link popularity is higher than most people's normal websites. I mean, it's a factor of 10 to 100 times more powerful than people's actual websites. So those are strong links pointing to.
Is that because they have optimized it?
No, it's actually because what happens is Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook, they have a lot of users. Like Twitter is around 10 million, Facebook is 400 million, and that's a lot of people that link to those sites. They link to their profiles, they link to the, there's a lot of links coming into those sites. So generally those sites, on the Google scale of PR, which is a 0 to 10, those sites are usually around a 9, which it basically means that they're the biggest players in the game. So people's profiles are usually only a few levels deep inside Twitter. So they are usually a PR5 or PR6. I know these numbers don't mean much, but I'll explain. A PR0 is a site with no links. It's dead in the water. It has nothing to really give it some of that power that it needs. A PR1 is a site which has one link. Not much better. Oh. Okay? Yeah. A PR2 is 10 links. PR3, 100 links. So it's a factor of 10 each level you go up. Majority of people have sites that are around PR2 or PR3. So very weak websites. Now, if you think about it, Twitter is a PR9, which is a factor of 10 to the 6 more powerful. That's a lot of link power. Yeah. And your profile on Twitter is usually a PR5 to PR6.
Wow.
Again, that's about 1,000 times more powerful than people's own personal sites that they're really trying to market. So the link power that you get from your own profile can be stronger than your own website.
Yeah,
so optimizing your profile and... well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I've actually noticed that several times doing searches via Google, I will see in the first page many hits from folks' respective Twitter profiles. It's amazing. They've done an incredible job of getting up near the top. So what you're saying is making sense.
Ellen, yeah. When I was talking to you the other day, you said that there are certain things that people can do within their Twitter profile that can actually optimize it. What kind of tips can you give us on that?
Okay, so one of the things that people do when they sign up with Twitter, they go through the process of filling out their name, filling out their URL, the basic stuff, right? Well, first thing the mistake they make at first is when they create their profile handle, they say my name. It's like something like, for example, my name's Alan Fraser Pollitt, and they'll create a handle like that, Alan Fraser Pollitt, which is a really long handle. It could be that's about 20 characters of length. So if you're only limited to 140 characters in your updates, then already you've used 20 of those. If you put a link in there, that's another 20. If so you're chopping down how much space you have. So what you should do is choose a handle that's very short. Like I chose, for example, Alan P73. It's something I use everywhere. It's just a very short handle. If you think about it, also when people retweet or respond to your posts, that also adds 2 more characters to it. So the shorter you make your handle, the more you can have retweeted, and the more you can have within your actual Twitter status update or LinkedIn status update. Okay, so it's good to keep the handles very short. I always recommend actually keep your tweets to 120 characters so that you have that room to have the retweet and then your handle in there as well. Okay, so always keep it short like that. Another thing is, in your Twitter profile or any of your profiles, you should never go type in HTTP www. For example, my website is alanpollitt.com. You should never do that. What you should do is just http://alanpollitt.com. Remove the www dot. That's 4 characters, and they only show like 20 characters. So if you take the www dot out, people will see more of your address, and they'll generally with Twitter they will actually click the link in your profile to check out your website.
Right.
But if they see that if they can't read it, they might not trust it, and they're less likely to click. So just removing those 4 characters can double the number of people coming into your website. So that's a very simple optimization that helps more for people than for the search engines, but it's one that you should consider. Another thing that you optimize is your actual background. I always optimize my background so that it has my email address, my phone number, my website address, my shoe size, I don't know, everything everything I can tell about myself to make it interesting for people to come in to visit me or contact me. You know, so optimizing these things, even though that's just an image, it helps in terms of getting conversions. So some of this optimization is really just for people.
Well, so let me ask you this: is optimization measurable? I mean, how do you check to see if it's working, what you're doing?
Well, actually, there's one more thing you can optimize in your LinkedIn and also with your Twitter and Facebook. That's your actual bio, and it's the short 2 lines that you have to describe about yourself. For example, you should always mention the keywords that people are using to look for your product or service. So I mentioned, for example, a search engine guru, web optimization, or web marketing, or internet marketing. So I mentioned all the keywords. And the way I measure success is how many people end up following me, or how many clients I get out of it, or how it affects my ranking on my personal website in terms of Google's results. So if I see those things getting better, then I know I'm doing something right. With LinkedIn, you can really see the optimization play a role. With LinkedIn, if you don't optimize your profile, you're not even searchable, because what will happen is people will search based on the keywords that are in your bio. So the only way they can find you is if the words appear in your bio and in your profile description. So if you don't mention the keywords, you don't appear. It's as simple as that. So it's very important. And it does help it counts as text around your link. So every profile has a link to your website. So your profile the optimization actually helps Google's rankings too. Generally what will happen is people's personal sites will rank number 1 for their name, and their profile sites will be number 2, 3, 4, whatever, how many profiles they have. Actually, there's a really cool thing, totally unrelated to what we're talking about, but I think it's just so cool that I have to mention it.
Okay.
There's actually I coined this term with a friend of mine. It's called reverse Googling, and or anti-Googling, or it's kind of a weird term. But what you do is, let's say somebody writes something really nasty about you, like, for example, like Alan Pollard, he's the worst web marketer ever, you know, something like that. And it's an article that appears whenever somebody does a search for your name. Right. Well, that would be really bad. You don't want that to be, you don't want anyone to see that kind of stuff. So what do you do? Well, one way to bury articles is to use social media. What you do is you create hundreds of profiles off of many social media sites, and because they have these high PRs, and if you optimize the profile the way I described, you can actually have any nasty article buried just by creating profiles. And there's a whole industry related to this. Actually, I have 4 clients right now. That's all I'm doing for them, where I'm just creating these profiles to bury nasty articles where, you know, they had one disgruntled, you know, client. So it's a very
interesting.
Yeah, it's a very important thing to know about. Actually, Google they had an update about a year ago called the Vince update, where they tried to address businesses' concerns about you know, these disgruntled people that were destroying their brand.
Yeah.
Right. And it's still a big factor. Just imagine if every time you search for like Toyota, what kind of results you'd get, right? So these companies
wouldn't be very good, I don't think.
I wouldn't imagine it'd be very good. So these companies pay big money to try to find ways to bury negative articles, and I call it reverse Googling, but there's a lot of different names for it.
Now, when you say creating multiple profiles, are you talking what social media outlets are you talking about? Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn? Which ones of those do you do that with?
There's like a whole bunch. There's Mr. Wong. There's Delicious, Flickr, Mems, Ning.
So are you
I
saying?
don't know.
Are you
There's
saying
just
to
so many.
So it's like,
Are you saying to create multiple profiles within each of those? Say Twitter, create 5 to
Oh
10.
no.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
No, you just create one profile per each.
Okay. I got you.
Because you don't need to create. Yeah, just create one per each with basic optimization for your name, and you can bury anything.
I like it. Bury it.
So it's a very simple approach, and it's very effective. And companies, they pay big money for people to do this service. It's a very cool cool little business. So anyone listening to this, hey, now you got a business opportunity.
There you go.
Contact Toyota right now.
Well, with all
probably,
this going
there's
on,
probably people already doing that.
with all this going on and social media becoming so powerful, would you say, is there a chance that Google is actually becoming obsolete?
I think Google is becoming obsolete for 2 reasons.
Wow.
One, because social media is becoming popular, but it's becoming popular because of what it means. I mean, this is the second reason, really. What it means is, if I want to learn about something new, I can get an update instantly on Twitter about it. For example, when there was the tragedy in Haiti, the first messages were actually tweets that were occurring on Twitter about it, like saying, "Oh my goodness, something bad has happened." It took about 2 hours before the news agencies were actually releasing the stories. Now Google, it's a search engine. It has to go out and find the articles, and it has to crawl the whole entire web. It has to update its index. It can be 5 days out of date.
Wow.
It tries to compensate by having its news feeds, and now recently it's incorporating Twitter into its own results. So it's obsolete because it's so out of date. I mean, 5 days sounds not really out of date, but in terms of competing against social media sites which are instantly up to date, it's considered it's a dinosaur.
So
it is obsolete.
So what you're implying is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're implying that people are going to social media sites like Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn to do searches on recent events more readily than they are going to Google. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, it's not necessarily that they're searching for it, because sometimes you don't know what it is that you should be looking for. But what happens is, because it is a viral arena,
yes.
If I tweet something like "there's an earthquake in my backyard," for example, all of a sudden all my friends all my followers would tweet that out to their followers or retweet it, and instantly it's known everywhere. Whereas Google has to pick up that information, has to actively seek it, and it might not know how to do that. Google has done a recent update called the Caffeine update in order to revamp its engine. It actually overhauled its own search engine in order to update quicker, to update instead of every 5 days, every day. And still that's obsolete. A day is still slower than every second, an instant update. So Google is doing everything it can to try to keep up with social media. It doesn't understand it, and it's trying to grasp the technology. So that's why it's incorporated the Twitter feed. So when you tweet about something now, it can actually appear in the results as a Twitter feed. So you'll see the search engine results, and mixed in those results are the Twitter results. So now you can tweet yourself to number 1.
Wow.
Which is kind of cool as well.
Very.
I recently, I think it was like maybe a month or 2 ago, I was reading an article online, and they were talking about the effects of social media and how it affects news in particular. And I cannot recall the country exactly, but it was somewhere over in Europe, and they had gathered a few news people from different locations to this one area in like a barn or a building, excuse me, and what they were doing, they were staying sheltered to see if they could stay abreast of any news or information that was coming out totally through social media. And it was really interesting because, like you're saying, it takes a while for Google to go through and index and crawl through all of the entire internet, and they were able to get information quickly, I mean, right away, and again, because it was viral. So it's interesting to see how everything is transforming, and whether or not this is going to be our main source of information, news-wise or whatever. It has become such a main part of what we do every day. So how is Google competing against social media with with everything that's happening?
Yeah.
Well, as I mentioned, they are incorporating the Twitter feed, but they recently did something in order to compete against Facebook. Facebook is the largest social media site with its 400 million users. In order to compete, they launched Google Buzz. Google Buzz was Google's very sad attempt. It's a very weak social media site, but it was an attempt by Google to create a social media site. And they tied it into their Google Gmail. And what happened is, instantly, because they tied it to everyone's Gmail account, they had 170 million users of Google Buzz, which is their social media site. But the problem is, they don't really understand social media. Maybe it's because they're mostly geeky guys that don't have many friends. I don't know. They just don't understand how social media works. Because Google Buzz is an inferior product. It just doesn't get a lot of the stuff. For example, when you do a status update on Google Buzz, it also appears in your email. So you basically, every time you update, you're getting an email. So you can get like hundreds of emails from yourself even, which is really annoying. It's just a very, it's like, why am I spamming myself on Google Buzz? So it's just not intuitive. It's just, they just don't get it yet. Now, will they improve it? Probably. But how long will that take them? And are they going to? But at least they do have the market share by just instantly tying it into their Gmail. Having 170 million users, well, that's not bad. I can't argue with the numbers. I mean, that automatically that makes them the #2 social media product out there, which is crazy because it's not a very good product.
But there's some good features, about it, I think, from what I've looked at. But the other thing is, we've got so many different social media outlets. Unless you have automated it, and or you have a lot of people working for you, it can be very cumbersome and hard to keep up with.
Yeah. That's one of the things. Like, anyone that does social media, it's like how do you keep up with all these sites? There's just too many of them. I stick to like maybe 5, and then I feed out to the rest and hope that they're doing okay by themselves. But yeah, it is hard to keep up with it all. Even me being on the internet all the time, I find it hard keeping up with it all.
Yeah, it would be impossible to do all of those as a single individual. You would most likely need to either, like as Kathy said, bring in a lot of helpers, or maybe hire a virtual assistant or two that would, handle several accounts each to keep your content fresh and original throughout all of them. But yeah, you can only do so much as a single individual. However, the internet is incredible. Software is incredible. There are lots of tools out there. A lot has been written for Twitter, Facebook. I haven't seen a whole lot for automation for Facebook, but there are means to automate to a certain degree your tasks. So it's nice that you were so forthright with that to say, I just hope they stand on their own, because it would be virtually impossible for any individual to do it unless software becomes so advanced that there's a way to, Ping FM is a great example of something fantastic to at least spread the word to multiple outlets at one point, but to keep up to date and read all the feedback, impossible as a single person entity. So just want to tell the viewers that don't go out and get a bunch of social media profiles and expect to manage every one of them every day or even every week. It just won't happen. So be smart about it and maybe you can contact Alan Pollitt. We've been talking with Alan Pollitt. He's a web marketing guru. He's an SEO expert, social media expert as well. And we have his picture up to our left. So if you go over there and click right on his nose, right here, on his nose, not mine, but on his nose up here.
Ouch.
It'll take you straight to his website. You can get more information about Alan and perhaps give him a contact him and see if there's anything he can do to help you in your efforts in social media and SEO as it pertains to SEO, because search engine optimization is incredibly powerful if you know how to use it. And we're talking to an expert right now, so when he talks, definitely do the things he suggests. Also, there's a link beneath us in case you don't want to pick or click right on his nose. Did I say pick? I said pick. in case you don't want to pick on his nose.
That was click.
Click. There you go.
Click.
Pick or flick or click. Anyway, click down there on his banner beneath where it says Alan Pollitt, Marketing Guru.
You know,
we do
your
have
face
fun on this show.
is really glowing against that white background.
All right. But fantastic information.
You know, I just wanted to say this.
Go ahead.
You and I don't publicize it, you know, generally, but between the two of us, we have, I'll just say several, Brian and I have several Twitter accounts.
Several, yeah.
So we can attest to the fact that automating and finding other ways of handling the influx is extremely important if you're going to have more than a handful of accounts. But and we do have a question from one of our viewers, and they are asking Alan if you would please explain exactly what a blog is to a newcomer and how you would get started. So I know that you understand about blogging. Do you want to touch on that just briefly for this individual?
Okay, one of the biggest blogs out there is either Blogger or WordPress. Those are the two big players. A blog is basically a web log. It allows you to basically comment about how you're feeling. It's a web journal that you can basically create articles about what's going on in your life. When you use it in a marketing arena, it's a little bit different. For example, when I blog, I write about articles that I see as keyword targets. And what I do is for example, I created my Twitter marketing course. That was a blog comment, and I basically wrote an article in order to market that product. So I just wrote a page about it, submitted it out to a whole bunch of blogging websites and also social media websites in order to promote it. So blogging is all about, in the marketing field, it's all about creating articles around keywords or around product ideas. So it doesn't matter what your field is, you can always expand it by thinking about what products you have. For example, I was dealing in the real estate field for a long time, and what I would do is I would do keyword research and find out all the biggest terms, and then I'd write about every single term. I'd create an article for each one, and that page that I'd create was just about that one topic. For example, condos in Toronto, or condos in Los Angeles, or townhouses, or mortgage rates, or something like that. When I was heavily involved in the real estate thing, I had the #1 site for every single real estate term, every single mortgage term, because I had created all these articles. I used a tool called Spinning in order to create over 100,000 articles. Wow. So I basically targeted every single term that I saw as a good keyword by blogging. And this was before blogging was really popular. I mean, we're talking like 10 years ago. But the same applies now.
Do you still utilize that same tool? You said Spinning today?
Yeah, actually, I do use it. Not as much.
Where would one for our viewers, where would they get a copy of that tool?
There's a whole bunch of them. There's SE Quake. There's a whole bunch. There's SE Nuke is another one. There's a whole bunch of spinners out there that you can. I just do a search on Google for article spinner.
Okay.
Yeah, article spinner is the proper term. And basically the idea is you're just modifying the text. One of the things that web marketers do is you need to build links, and some of the best linking websites are blog websites or article sites. So what happens is Google will gradually ignore the same article if it's out on 100 places. So what you have to do is spin the article so that it appears different to the search engines, so that it will maintain those links for you. If you don't do that, it will gradually ignore those links. So the best idea is to always spin your articles.
Interesting.
So,
very interesting.
Spinning articles.
Yeah, spinning your articles. It's very important. Also, if you look up, this is a really old hat technique, but it's called doorway pages. I know it's really old style, but if there's some really good software, actually is as good as the spinning software of today for creating doorway pages. And doorway pages are basically, it's a doorway. It's called the doorway page, and basically, a doorway page is a very well optimized page that is just basically an article about some topic. And there was programs that I used way back when, like I'm talking like a long time, 10 years ago, that would create, within a minute, you could have 100 different articles about something.
Wow.
And it would be just, they would all be optimized. You can probably use those doorway page generators to create articles that you can feed out to social media sites or to article sites. So it's another tool that you can consider.
That's part of optimization too, correct?
Yes, that is definitely a part of optimization. Because one of the biggest things with search engine optimization is getting links, and getting links from sites which have the proper theme. So the better the page is that is linking to you, the theme of that page, if it's relevant, the better that link is considered for your website. So if you have a website that's talking about flowers and you're getting links from lawyer websites, it's not going to help you much. But if you're getting really good flower links, links all about flowers, then you'll be considered a good site. So it's using these spinning tools or doorway pages. Well, you don't create doorway pages anymore, but you create these articles. Is a way of getting these links that are very powerful to your website.
So when you say you're ready to blast out an article or a subject or a topic, and you want to get traffic to anything, and that you are trying to work as a business, do you typically write something on your own personal blog and then send this thing, the message or the tweet through Ping FM, so it hits all the social media sites with a link that points back to your blog, or do you do a combination of your blog and other things?
Okay, well, now we're getting into, we can get into more complicated stuff. This, if you want, I'm not sure if you know about link wheels.
I don't think I've heard that one.
Do you know what a link? Okay, this.
I've not heard that term.
Okay, so we're going to get into some complicated stuff here. Hope the viewers can follow along. The idea is the best type of link is a form. It's called a link wheel, and you can do, if you do a search for my name and link wheel. I wrote a really good article about it. But the idea is what you have at the center. Here's a center, is your site, and then around your site is you have a whole bunch of other sites that are social media websites or Web 2.0 websites, all linking to your website. And then you have all of those sites linking to each other in a wheel.
Interesting.
Okay? And what happens is, based on Google's algorithms and the search engine's algorithms, it's considered an authority, your site at the middle, because all these sites are themed around the term that you're promoting, and they're linking to your website. So your site must be an authority for that term. So it's a strategy that you can use. So when you create articles, you actually embed not just a link to your website, but you embed links to other article websites or to other social media sites that you're using to promote yourself. It's a complicated strategy, but it's one that's very effective. And you can create, like, even if you create like a small number of these link wheels, like 10, you can dominate pretty much any term.
Well, it sounds to me like it would be a good thing for people to Google your name along with link wheel and take a look at this article that you've written to kind of help somebody walk through the process.
Yeah. So yeah. Another thing you can do is you can download my book, All About Links.
There we go.
That's another book. Yeah, I have a book that I wrote all about links. It's a good bedtime story because once you read it, you'll.
Get that, Alan?
You just go to my website, alanpollard.com, and then there should be let me just check my own website. I'm pretty sure there's a link on the side.
Is there a charge for that, or is
no? It's a free book.
Wow.
It's a free book.
Okay, great.
It's just along the right-hand side of my website. You'll see Links Glossary ebook.
Excellent.
And it is a good bedtime story because once you read it, you will fall instantly to sleep because it just tells you about everything about links that you were afraid to ask. Okay.
Well,
so,
for those of us who are truly interested in links and everything they do to help drive traffic to your website, I guarantee you, no matter how dry you may feel it is, they're going to stay awake and their eyes are going to be wide open and they're going to want more. Like I do right now. You're talking about link wheels. I've never heard of these, and they sound incredibly interesting. It sounds like you would have to send out multiple messages, tweets, posts, what have you, because you're sending to different links from within those posts. Have you written anything in a little bit more detail that defines the strategy you use, and have you made that available to folks yet or not?
It is in the book that I give for free to a certain extent.
Great.
But my biggest strategy, and this is something I do a lot, is I rely on Eastern Europe. That's my my biggest strategy. I let people, because it's a lot of grind work to get these articles submitted and to get them spun and to do all this work. So what I do is I rely on people from countries where they can, you pay them like a couple $dollars per hour, or it's very cheap work, and it's a lot of grind work. So I rely on those kind of people to do the work. For example, I just had a client, and they gave me this really unrealistic goal. They said, I want to be #1 for a term that Microsoft dominates. Okay? And they said, I said, in order to do that, I can read how powerful of a link strategy you need to create. And I said, well, in order to do that, you're going to need to create about 20,000 links. Okay? So they said, okay, go for it. Do it. And sure enough, I did it, and it worked.
Wow.
Because what I do is I get the people in like India or Eastern Europe to do the work, and they use my strategy. I say, I don't let them know what exactly they're doing, but I say, do this, and do this. And all those pieces, once they do those pieces, it builds up these link wheels. Or another thing that you have to know about is silos. It's another term. You create all these link strategies.
Is that in your book as well, Alan?
Yeah, it's also in my book. And I tell them do all this, and all of a sudden their site will be #1, and it totally worked. I creamed Microsoft, blew them right off the map.
Everyone watching this show, be sure to click on his nose right there and get that ebook. I'm going to go there right after this show and get my copy, because this is incredibly interesting. He's giving some, I don't know if you folks realize this is incredibly valuable information for free. That's why we love bringing Alan back, because he did that the first time on our show, talking about LinkedIn and some incredible gems just with that one social media site. But now he's basically unveiling what I consider to be a lot of secrets that a lot of people otherwise wouldn't know about. Now, perhaps there are some of you watching that do know some of these tips and techniques, but the way he's put it together, where he hires out to other areas where he's basically employing a large employee base for a very minimal cost, very, very intelligent approach. But you don't have to do that. Go see Alan and get him to do it for you. Make it a lot easier on you. and employ Alan's services to get it done. And this is great stuff. So wait, thank you.
Somebody's asking about his book. All they have to do is click on his nose, and you can get his book.
I love it.
Go to his site. Yeah, we had somebody ask, where do we get the book? Click on Alan's nose, it will take you to his site.
And I think if you actually search for free, because I optimize all my books, right? I think if you search for free links glossary, you'll get my book #1 on Google.
Just go to Google.
Well, the other thing that I want to say about going to your site, you have a lot more than just that link book that you give out. So he actually has a few things that you can make purchase of, but he also has a lot of information there that's for free. So make sure that you go in there and take a look. He is very, very giving in that way.
Now you mentioned silos. Did you? Did I just like interrupt you and didn't let you describe that, or did I miss that altogether? I wanted to hear silos.
Silo is basically, it's similar to a link wheel. It's just a different, it's just the way the links are set up. It's more to push the authority status. It's like pushing a whole bunch of links to one point, and then it kind of forces it up. Is the best way to describe it. Read the book, it explains way better.
Okay.
Sometimes it's hard to explain these things.
Excellent.
But also, just do a search for silos, and you'll find it. They're a very common tactic used by link building optimizers.
All right. This is incredible stuff.
Well, we were talking about about automation, and I had mentioned earlier that Brian and I have several accounts that we do have automated. How important is automation in social media, Alan?
I'd say you can't do social media properly without it. And I remember, Kathy, you got me in big trouble with that one, actually. Or was it Brian? It was Brian that got me in trouble. I defended Brian. He said that you should use automation on a LinkedIn forum. And I said, oh, that's totally true. You got to use automation. And I got burned. Everyone was complaining, oh, automation, that's so non-social. But really, automation is it's a social thing to do, because there's certain tasks that you have to do over and over again. Why manually do something? I always consider it like driving a car. I drive an automatic. It does have to work for me. I don't go out and I don't press the clutch or anything like that. I just put it in drive and go. Why do all those extra tasks that aren't needed? And it's the same with social media. Things that are repetitive, automate them. It saves you time. It allows you to be more social because you're saving time doing the repetitive tasks, and you can focus on the things that are more social, which is to interact with people and to put out your articles and really connect. So I think automation is essential to make social media work. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I don't want to get you in trouble again, but I agree.
Yeah, you got me. Yeah.
Actually, when you said that, probably LinkedIn isn't the place to mention something like that because of the...
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Twitter and Facebook, they probably wouldn't have hit you so hard, but that one, there's a lot of corporate execs and things like that are very serious about, not automating and doing everything manually. But
a little bit different etiquette going on there.
Yeah, maybe.
Didn't mean to...
But I actually wrote a really... I wrote a really good article about automation, actually. Yeah.
You wrote a what? A good book?
I wrote a good article about it. No book on it, but there's a good article on my website about automation and how to use it in all the different ways. I'm not sure why I do this to myself, but I always give so much information out. People don't even need me. They just go to my website, they just read it all, and they do it on their own. But I try to make... I know so much, and I love sharing it all. I just love getting as much information as possible.
Yeah, we appreciate that deeply.
Brian and I recently had a guest, Jabez Lebret, talking about contribution leadership, and you're a great example of that, Alan. I think in how you give so much content and information to people, And I know from talking with you from time to time that by doing so, you're actually receiving a lot back in the way of clients and new business. So it's absolutely wonderful, and it's what a gift to our viewers tonight, and for the people that are going to be able to go back and watch the recording, because what you have in your website is so rich in information, and it's free. It's going to benefit anybody that goes there. So we're really appreciative of you sharing that.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. I learned a lot from you guys too. Yeah, it's always good to share stuff on the show and wherever I can.
Well, when you shared the LinkedIn information from the last show, you should have seen how that spun Kathy and I up on all the ideas it put in our heads, because now I tell everybody that LinkedIn is what I term a sleeping giant of social media websites, because if when I first looked at LinkedIn, and it was many months prior to you bringing it to our attention, Alan, on how useful it was and the little tips and tricks about all the profile things that you told us about on the show, I looked at it kind of like, ooh, I don't know what that could do for me. And it didn't look all that appealing. It looked very dry, but it now appears to me as something conceivably even more powerful than the other two big social media sites, for the very reasons you specified on that past show. So I won't go reiterate all that. You can all see that if you click on the past shows link above us and look for Alan Pollitt's name. You can replay that at your leisure. But what Kathy says rings true. You give so much, and we are so appreciative of that. So thank you.
Yes, and I can certainly attest to the whole LinkedIn connection. It's pretty
Yes.
cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. Well, listen, you know what? It happens every week. Before we know it, it seems like we get down to the hour. I don't know how that time passes so quickly. But one thing that I want to say to those of you out there that might be in the Bay Area, Brian and I are going to be at Christine Comerford's 7-Figure Business Summit this coming weekend in San Francisco. I'm not sure that she has any seats left, but I'm going to give her a real quick plug here. If you go to www.7figurebusinesssummit.com and check, Brian and I are two of a very elite group of expert coaches. We were selected through our good friend Mary Agnes Antonopoulos, and by the way, we want to give Mary Agnes our condolences. She lost her father suddenly this past week.
Yes.
We're hoping to see her in San Francisco, and we hope that anybody that's in the Bay Area, or if you're just flying out to San Francisco, certainly check with the website and come see us.
Yeah, come out and say hi.
But anyway,
say
with
hi
that
and
being,
shake our hand. Absolutely, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, right, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Brian and I are going to be there double teaming it and doing everything that we can to be a support to Christine Comerford.
Yes.
But anyway, Alan, I just want to say thank you so much again for coming and joining us once again. What a great Twitter connection that you've turned out to be for us, and dear friend. And Brian, thank you so much for all that you do, and you know, I just appreciate so much your friendship and partnership in the business that we've got going together. So I'm going to bow out and say goodnight to you gentlemen, and Brian, take it away. And
I want to reiterate, Alan, once again, thank you so much for your generous information that you give away, that you could easily charge a considerable amount of money for, easily, especially after telling us everything here on the show, and that you have a book that people can download for free. Definitely click on his nose and go get that ebook right after this show's over. Kathy, couldn't do the show without you. You are the glue that holds the Internet Citadel together. Appreciate you beyond words. We are going to be back in 2 weeks from tonight with another fantastic guest. Due to the fact that we'll be at Christine's event, we're going to be a bit busy leading up to that. In fact, right after we get off the show, we have to start preparing. But we are going to take next Tuesday off. We will be back the following Tuesday, so be sure to watch your emails. If you're not on our email list, click on the register link right above us. We do not spam anyone. We just tell when our next show is coming up and keep you informed. So with that, once again, Alan, thank you very much. Kathy, thank you. And we will see you all once again in 2 weeks' time. Good night now.
Good night.
Good night.